the terrible truth, when your mom and dad said they were tired of taking a nap, they were actually doing it.
No, that's terrible.
And it's the truth. Can't you just feel the sarcasm dripping off that? We gratefully acknowledge the cooperation and assistance of the king of the world, Judge William B. McKesson, who descended from the clouds surrounded by heralds and cherubim and gave us 2 lousy hours of his more precious than gold time.
If anyone had ever told me a few years ago that we would ever read headlines like these in American newspapers, I would have called him crazy.
Then I would have given him a comb-over he'd never forget.
In the middle of the 20th century in the United States of America, hundreds and
Where's America?
boys and girls are becoming hopeless dope addicts every year. It's fantastic.
It's so awesome, really.
Terrible, but it's true for the most part. The government maintains 2 hospitals just to treat drug addicts at Lexington, Kentucky, and Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, and one in Robert Downey's Rectory.
Thing for a juvenile to be admitted, but look at these recent figures. And remember, these are...
What will I have today? No, not truly enough.
To the
A blue screamer?
authority.
No, that's for more of a Nicky Six type of mood.
The occasional users of marijuana or heroin, morphine, or in some cases sleeping pills, it's pretty hard to estimate.
Or even estimate.
One sure thing. Nobody is going to stay an occasional user very long. This is one game nobody beats. If you use narcotics, before long you'll have the habit.
I have it, but then I'm only an occasional user.
And the dope addicts say, you're hooked.
Then they add the word mad, which I just don't get at all.
The simplest way to answer that is to talk to someone who has had the experience.
But Michelle Rodriguez wasn't in, so I looked elsewhere.
Walter Howard. They just got their teenage daughter back after a 6-month nightmare that even Edgar Allan Poe couldn't have improved on.
Oh, come, sir. Edgar Allan Poe did more and better drugs than you'll ever know.
Howard agrees to let us talk to her daughter, Phyllis, when we explain that we could use her case to help others avoid the same mistake.
Say, if she just got off narcotics, she's going to be in a vulnerable state.
This is Phyllis as she looked 6 months ago, a senior in high school, pretty as a picture.
An average-looking picture.
Recently, she was released from the narcotic ward at the county jail in the custody of her parents.
My, she looks fine.
Hard to believe
Looks better, I think.
the same as the one in the picture. But it doesn't take long for the drug habit to make anyone over.
Now, recovery from addiction is never easy, and you'll need to administer plenty of me 4 times a day for maximum efficacy.
Phyllis wasn't anxious to talk about her experiences with dope, but you'll see how her story might be used to help others. And she began to talk.
It's okay, Judge, because I don't have a problem with drugs. I simply prefer them to living in the 50s. Do you understand?
I do, dear.
Dope.
The dope.
I guess I knew about research marijuana ever since junior high. Some of the boys smoked them. The ones who couldn't get along, who were afraid of everything. You know, the ones with no backbone.
You know, the ones who started technology companies and now own their own castles. The ones who buy Rembrandts and forget they bought them. You know.
In high school, my girlfriend Ann and I went around with Jim and Bob.
They started an ice cream company, but lost to another pair when they forgot to smoke pot every single day of their lives.
That's jive talk for marijuana. And after a while, Ann and I got so that we did, too.
Coercion was horrible. They said, we're Jim and Bob. Want to smoke dope?
Dope.
The dope.
It's funny what it does to you. Everything speeds up to 100 miles an hour.
Except the Lucy Show, which remains an unending nightmare.
And you laugh a lot. You feel like you're the biggest person in the world.
You begin shooting out TVs and taking your jet to get peanut butter and Nana sandwiches.
But I didn't feel so good when I came home high that night. My dad knew something was wrong, but he didn't know what.
Why, you're carrying a man purse.
Her daughter would never do anything bad. I'd been smoking pot for quite a while before I met Chuck.
Chuck was Secretary of Education.
Newspapers call a peddler. He supplied the kids at school with whatever they wanted. Most of them used reefers like us, but some liked stronger stuff.
Like Chuck?
There was something intriguing and different about Chuck. I guess I appealed to him in some way, too.
So, sex, if I can figure sex it was.
He had the heroin habit. He was hooked.
My dearest angel, will you be the Nancy to my
One night
Sid?
he asked me up to his place. I knew by now he started peddling after he got the habit, so he could get H for himself.
That's right. Make me forget the Lucy Show, baby.
You know something about hunters? They're like a disease. They don't like to see anybody not using the stuff just because they do. Chuck finally talked me into using heroin.
Marjorie, it makes you write a great book. One that's great to all the other people on heroin.
But I was going to be smart. Just take it or leave it. Nothing was going to happen to me. But before I knew it, I was hooked.
And I gotta tell you, there were no downsides. Everything since I got off drugs has paled in comparison.
What's that?
All right, it was a nightmare treadmill I couldn't get off of, right?
Nothing does. Not when you're on H. All you think about day and night is dope. How much you've got, where to get more, what you'll do if you can't get it.
When do the generic frozen pizzas go on sale?
They had to eventually, I knew that, but it didn't matter much. Nothing did except H. All of a sudden it hit me. If Chuck had seen the cops coming, he might have got rid of our supply.
But then I remembered Chuck is a heroin addict. Our supply was probably where it always was, with the bag labeled heroin, right in the cabinet labeled heroin.
In the heroin room.
That's what happened. Chuck got rid of everything. Probably in the garbage disposal. Oh, that's a favorite trick of Hyde's when they're going to be arrested.
Such an awesome trick. A mere mortal should never attempt it.
I needed a fix bad. So bad I didn't care whether I lived or died. And I didn't know whether I'd ever get another cap.
It was summer, and caps were hard to come by.
Miss, may I help? My cap is low, maybe a little big for your head.
Oh, problem solved. Thanks.
In the meantime, Phyllis's parents had nearly gone crazy. They hadn't seen or heard of their daughter in months. Mr. Howard checked every newspaper story that might by any remote chance have to do with Phyllis.
Yeah, have the Mets do. Yeah,
Died.
that's what I thought.
They were almost convinced she was dead.
Yeah, once her ass is dead, back to the box stores.
But I wasn't dead. I tried once to kick off the habit, but I was too far gone.
Here, give me a calzone. Unless you're going to Arby's.
And you find a criminal, and that's just about it. If you're hooked bad, it costs about $30 a day for each.
If I give up flaming hot Cheetos, I can just about afford that.
Maybe by holdup. Girls take up street walking or do what I did. Become peddlers themselves.
Unfortunately, I chose to peddle heroin be gone.
Contacts and peddle dope myself. Sure, I knew it was wrong, but when you're hooked, you can't help yourself.
You start dressing like Mamie Eisenhower.
Eventually, too, just like they did Chuck. And when I was arrested, I was almost glad. I told them I wanted help.
And by help, I meant heroin.
Take it off. Oh, it was horrible. 5 days, and I didn't care whether I lived or died.
Yeah, typical reaction after having seen Daddy Day Camp.
And then you ache all over and get sick and you can't breathe.
Yeah, that's Daddy Day Camp, all right.
High fever, and then you pass out, but when you wake up, it starts all over again.
Yeah, Daddy Day Camp.
Wait a minute, that could be who's your caddy.
I kicked it off, and I've never used dope since. Maybe what happened to me will keep it from happening to somebody else.
Or more probably, it will make them say, hey, that's pretty cool.
And all I hope is that someday I can forget it.
Well, that's Phyllis's story. In the United States of America, 20th century.
Yeah, you would expect this kind of thing from the Habsburgs in 1381, maybe.
Typical. Most teenagers start off with marijuana. Then they decide to see if heroin has any kick. It does.
Oh, wait a minute. There's a stop off at cocaine. You gotta be fair.
Can't leave it alone. In order to get money to buy it, they turn to crime. And that's the story. There are practically no happy endings when you fool with drugs.
Oh, sure, you can win Grammys, but who wants a Grammy?
Life is about the toughest thing in medicine. Well, what's the answer?
Wait, I know this. 3.
That's
three.
Certainly. In the Far East a few years back, they were lining up dope peddlers and shooting in the back of the head.
Of course, they also do that for parking infractions.
It just made it harder for victims to get the stuff. No, the answer is a simple one.
3.
Just use your head. Leave narcotics absolutely alone. Remember what happened to Phyllis and others like her.
She seems fine. Yeah, she's got a cool story to tell.
better.
Yeah.
Some say the Reds are promoting dope traffic in the United States to undermine national morale. They did it in China a few years back.
The shooting people in the back of the head hadn't already undermined national morale?
Their hands. But why not show everybody, including ourselves,
Yes, why not?
American men and women have too much intelligence to make such a stupid, ghastly, tragic mistake? Let's make tomorrow's headlines read like this.
You got that, you stupid, ghastly, tragic, commie dopehead? Go to hell!
God bless you.